This is Lon Winters with Graphic Elephants.
This is Jimmy Lamp.
This is Matt Vassallo with the WritingStoneWorld.com.
And you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by...
My name is Terry Combs, RG, regular guy.
And Aaron Montgomery.
We're just regular guys having fun and trying to make a living in this really cool and exciting industry.
I think we all want to succeed 100% of the time.
Seek to understand before I try and make myself understood.
Bring a ton of great information.
Coming to you live from somewhere dark, dirty, and dank.
All right. Well, welcome into the show. It is Friday, June 10th, 2022. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Terry, today we're going to be talking to Lisa Potts with Lisa Potts Designs, and she's going to be joining us to talk about education, one of our favorite things, transfer vinyl, laser cutting arenas, all sorts of great stuff that she's got going on. She's a YouTube star. We'll call her that because I believe she's a star. And we're excited to welcome her in. And she's also going to be one of the influencers at the Start Here Academy that's happening with Graphics Pro Expo out there in Charlotte in September. So, really excited to have her here today, Terry.
Well, me too. That's going to, and Reggie Award winner from the past. So that's going to be exciting. But Aaron, do you think it's appropriate to drop in a whole new lead into the show without any warning? I had no idea you had a recording of me going, Terry Combs RG, regular guy.
So that was from the very first episode when I asked you to explain where the name Two Regular Guys came from.
That's awesome.
And so here's the even crazier thought. I actually woke up at 4 a.m. this morning going, I've got a great idea for a new intro, and we've been needing one for a long time. So that's what I did this morning.
Love it. And for all the listeners out there, Eric is the show producer, and 12 seconds before going on the air, Aaron goes, oh, by the way, there's a new intro right there at the top.
Eric. Thanks, Eric, for running with my craziness.
I love it. All right. Well, we have some news items today, and the one that I'd like to share is Mamaki is launching a new online store. The store marks the first time in the company's history that products are available for sale direct to customers. Mamaki, I'm having a little trouble with this. I'm going to switch out with you, Aaron. You take over this one.
Okay, I'll take over.
Mamaki USA is a wide format inkjet printer and cutter manufacturer, and they've announced the launch of this new online store for U.S. Canadian customers, and it's called Mamaki eShop. And Vernon Jones, who's the senior marketing manager, said, we are excited to make Mamaki products more accessible than ever. And you can read more about it at Graphics Pro. Eric has it up on the screen. And if you're a podcast listener, you can find it on our website.
Awesome. Yeah. So check that out. And interesting move from a company that's traditionally been dealer based, looking to kind of mix things up a little bit there. So good stuff from Mamaki. So for me, Terry, a couple more things here. I've got two things for you here today. First and foremost, I've been mentioning that we've been getting great support for Skills USA. And so I finally got my arms around everything, got the list together. There's 2 weeks left, so I can probably change a lot of things up between now and then. But no, but I just wanted to share real quick who's supporting Skills USA and just kind of give them an official shout out here. And we'll be talking about them before, during, and after the event coming up in the end of June here. But the cool part, the thing that I'm most proud of right now, and do I want to do better? Absolutely. Is this a great start for being only having about 6 months to put this together, which is normally a 12-month program? I'm really excited about this. We've got about $8,000. Actually, I think it's about $8,400. Just over $8,000. $8,040 worth of prizes that are going to be given out to these students and schools. So I won't list everything that's prized, but I'll list kind of who was involved and what they're sharing. So first and foremost, Condi, dietrans.com. For those of you not familiar, they are giving $300 worth of gift cards out. And plus they've shown up in a big way for blanks for the students to decorate and a bunch of the ancillary items that are needed to kind of make this event happen. plus David from Condi is going to be there. He's one of the people that's on the technical committee with me and just really helped make this come to fruition this year. They're also donating as a prize a Sawgrass SG500 printer. And then speaking of the Sawgrass SG500 printer, we have another one being donated by the folks at Sawgrass. And they're also sending out a representative to be a judge there. So thanks so much to Sawgrass for their support. We've got 2 tickets to the next upcoming virtual sublimation summit, probably happening later on in the first part of next year. Cheryl's still working on the dates, but Cheryl Kuchek over there, a great supporter of sublimation in all forms, obviously putting together the sublimation summit. So she's donating 2 tickets to that next upcoming events as prizes. Caesar is going to be involved, and Terry, you call him Sisser, but it's Caesar.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
I know you were.
How many times have I butchered their name?
So they're donating a prize pack that includes easy subly and vinyl and stuff like that. And then coming through in a huge way, Stalls has stepped up and they're donating 3 heat presses that we'll be using at the event. Plus, we'll be giving away as prizes. Not only are these 3 heat presses, but these are 16 by 20 clam with the caddy, right? So we're talking, this is probably about north of $2,500, maybe $3,000 in donations that they're providing to this event. We've got the folks over at sublimax.com donating packs of paper as prizes. My wife and I, through montco.biz, are donating $350 worth of gift cards to montco.biz. And plus, we're going to be printing all the transfers and also supplying the rest of the blanks that the students will be using for the contest. And then my company, Our Success Group, is also donating consulting to these schools as prizes to help them continue to grow their sublimation shop there in that. So special thanks to all of them. I got a few more people to thank. I'm sorry, I don't want to take up the whole time. I know we want to get to Lisa, but I wanted to get to everybody here today. And then again, we'll share a little bit more. But I also want to give a shout out to Lori Donovan. She helped me with some Sawgrass questions as I was putting together the testing plan. Also, big shout out to Toby Hall, who was formerly the director of sales over there at Unisub and now is a retired to consultant. He's doing consulting because he's just the type of guy that's always helping. So he couldn't stay retired for long. But Toby Hall and Associates, really super helpful in just kind of coordinating and getting prizes and sponsors and stuff like that. I also want to thank Insta Heat Presses and Mamaki, who Terry was talking about earlier in that press release. They stepped up and were wanting to support, and we just couldn't work out all the details because of the timing of it. But they were still ready and willing, and I know they'll be a part of it next year when we have a little bit more time. And then Terry, last but not least, I'd like to just give a quick shout out to all the judges, and then I'll be done. Speaking of judges, I just saw Kristen step in. She said good morning. She is going to be showing up there in Atlanta and helping us judge the competition and make sure this all goes well. So really big shout out to her. Todd Downing from Fat Dad Wholesale, who you see in the comments there. In fact, he said good morning much earlier on. So Todd is coming over. I mentioned David Gross, or I mentioned Condi. David Gross, who's the president of Condi, he will be there to be a judge, and again, been a huge supporter. My wife, Kylene Montgomery, is going to be a judge. We've got Nick Bittner with ISW going to be showing up and judging. Olivia Craney, and hopefully I'm getting her last name correct, but she's with Sawgrass, and so she's going to be there. And then Stephanie Young, who's with Caesar. I got to meet her out at the Everything Embroidery Market, and she is actually going to be out to help us with that and then be at the next Everything Embroidery Market. And then Sandy Wheely, who's with Lawrence County High School. She does not have a student in the competition this year, but has had former sublimation winners. And she stepped up to help as well. So she's going to be making the trip over to help us. And then last but not least, Dottie Lancott. She was scheduled to be a judge and then had some last minute things come up where she couldn't attend, but didn't want to leave me hanging out to dry. So she actually found me 2 judges. She's so amazing that we had to have 2 people to replace her. And so anyhow, really appreciate Dottie and all of her support. And hopefully she'll be able to join us next year. So there we go. That's Skills USA. If I missed anybody, I am terribly sorry, but I think I've got everybody. And thank you for all of the support. So
Now,
Terry?
see, now I can't get Eddie Money out of my head because you have 2 tickets to Sublimation Summit.
Or
You know,
Paradise, right?
yeah.
Same thing. All right. One more quick news item before we get to Lisa here. Campus Inc. and Indiana University have announced an agreement that will provide name, images, and likenesses. They call it NIL as an acronym, merchandise opportunities for all IU student athletes. According to a press release from the school, the NIL store powered by Campus Inc. will launch a complete merchandise store for IU student athletes featuring officially licensed shirtsies. It's a shirt jersey, replica jersey, apparently. And every athlete will also have a personalized digital locker room that will house their merchandise. And you can read more about it on the IU website there. This is cool. I think not too long ago, we talked about Mark Cuban investing in Campus Inc. And this is kind of what's coming of that. Mark Cuban's actually a alumni of IU. So I think this is where they're starting this whole program. So interesting to see how that comes on.
Very good.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
All right. So that's what we've got there. Terry, shall we do a dad joke?
I think I have a pretty good one today.
I do actually too. So
since I'm a writer,
Lisa and Eric's head shaking, but we'll see. All right.
All right. Since I'm a writer, I have a writer dad joke. You
okay.
ready?
I'm ready.
All right. How many writers does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know, Terry. How many writers does it take?
It takes 2. One to screw it in most of the way, and the other to give it a surprise twist at the end. That's good stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Oh, Eric's shaking his head.
That's the head shaker. All right. Lisa's
all right. All right. Maybe as a writer, I thought it was funnier than regular people.
Well, I'm working on being a writer, Terry. I'm almost there. So I've even mocked up the cover of the book.
Nice. All right.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. Before we go any further, we want to thank everyone for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of our show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we are everywhere. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and questions for Lisa.
Yeah, exactly. We're excited to have Lisa on. Let me hit a couple of comments from the regulators before we get to a quick word about an upcoming workshop that our success group has going on. I just wanted to check in with everybody here. Barb said good morning from North Central Minnesota. And we have Justa checking in from Sweden. And Ramona was right here to catch the countdown even. So got her in a brand new countdown as of today, by the way. Todd, I said YouTube star, and Todd says YouTube sensation. Jerry says love Lisa's videos. So we're excited. We're excited to get Lisa in here. We've got Charles checking in. Good morning to you. Ramona, I like this follow-up here. That was a Carrie moment. Remember that twist at the end. All right. Oh, and then Todd shares, Terry have a novel idea with it. Had a novel idea with that joke. So there we go. We get
very nice
follow-ups.
Very nice.
All right. Well, let's hear a quick word about unlocking your potential workshop, and then we will get Lisa in here and let the excitement begin.
Hi, I'm Kylene.
And I'm Aaron from our success group.
We understand that feeling of knowing something is holding you back.
Are you watching others succeed and wondering what they have that you don't? There's a secret locked away inside of each of us, yet we never think about fixing it because it has to be something external from ourselves. It is the limiting belief that everyone wants to just push aside and try to hustle and grind harder to get there. But the truth is, those limiting beliefs are keeping you from asking for help or doing the action needed to move your business forward.
The sooner you can identify what's holding you back, the sooner you will start achieving your goals. Head on over to oursuccessgroup.com/unlock and click the turquoise button, Learn the Magic to Unlock Your Potential. We hope you make this investment in yourself and unlock your potential so you can find more meaning and success in your life.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys taking a moment to check that out. Head over there and see. The next one's coming up next Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time, and a great opportunity to just kind of dig in and give yourself an hour to unlock that potential like we talked about there. So, all right,
you're no longer saying center of the universe time. Is that?
I know. I'm trying to be a better version of me, Terry. You know, it's all right. Well, let's get to Lisa here. Lisa Potts is the creator behind Lisa Potts Designs. With nearly 10 years of decal and apparel experience, Lisa set out upon the exciting world of laser cutting. In 2 years, Lisa has gained a following of over 20,000 on YouTube and Instagram. She uses her experience to teach others how to design and produce stunning products with home laser cutters and vinyl machines. Welcome into the show, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, let's jump right in with, most people accidentally become garment decorators. We tell the story all the time. Tell us your story. How did you get started in this industry?
So I actually began crafting somewhat similarly to vinyl in college. I had an RA who had a Cricut, the old one with the cartridges, and I loved it. So I went into paper crafting. And so I came back to my hometown, and it's actually the same town that the Rhinestone World is in. So one of my good friends was already working there. I was in marketing. My background is advertising, public relations, and they said, hey, we need someone in marketing and we also need someone who crafts. Why don't you come over here? So that's how I got into the Rhinestone World. I made the switch over to silhouette from Cricut. For me, I never regretted it. And so I was able to kind of learn very quickly about vinyl, rhinestones, apparel decorating. And so I very quickly transitioned from just marketing to the training side. So I found that I love training. I love teaching. So I went from just making cute little shirts to being on YouTube and going to conferences and teaching webinars. And it just kept going until where we are now.
Nice.
Nice. So you walked into, like many of us, you walked into your RA's room and said, what's that? I want to do that.
I said, what is that? Is that like a laminator? Is that a printer? And at that point they were clunky and just not something you would recognize.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Todd said Lisa forced me into rhinestones years ago. She made it not scary, so the education works.
That was a little bit of fear too. I called him out in the middle of a live stream.
Oh,
that's awesome. Anytime you can call out Todd, I'm all for it. So
I was just going to say the same
Todd,
thing.
But I love calling him out too. So. All right. Well, Lisa, let's talk a little bit more about education. You said that, you realized that you had this love for teaching, and anybody that's listened to the Two Regular Guys before knows that we're all about that education, that rising tide that lifts all boats. So what you kind of mentioned that there was that change, but kind of tell us a little bit more about that. When did you decide you really needed to kind of focus more on helping others, building your YouTube channel, all that kind of fun stuff?
So throughout my time at the Rhinestone World, I did a lot of teaching, and I could actively see people learning and feeling empowered by what they were learning. And so my time at the Rhinestone World had come to a close. I actually got a job in local government. I actually still work there, like many people. This is my side gig. So I run social media in a county, and then I missed teaching. I really wanted to teach. And so I started Lisa Potts Designs, and I recognized a need for people to learn the Glowforge specifically in laser cutting. There's a huge influx of people coming from vinyl, coming from craft cutters, and they're getting to this $4,000 to $6,000 machine, and they're just overwhelmed with fear and intimidation. And so one of the things that I enjoy doing is I love breaking down the basics, and I love empowering people. I think that once we understand how something works and how we can translate what we're used to into this new format, you can really excel and you can go far. And so if you watch my channel, a lot of my videos are just basic. Like, this is how I did it in the software. This is how I load my material. This is the basics of what's happening, because if you teach the basics, then someone can apply what you've said here and move it to another project. And so I've been able to kind of see that progression with people who follow me, and it's been really rewarding to kind of see their growth and then become confident in it, and their businesses are growing as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So real quick before we move on to the next question here, I guess I mean, I know that laser is in the family, so to speak, if we're talking about the decorating world out there. But going from vinyl to laser, what was that connection?
So both of them use, the CAD cutting, the vector cutting format. And
Gotcha.
so one of the issues that you see a lot with people who come from print to vinyl are your layers and your cut lines, because you can't just simply hide it under a layer. It will cut. So with Glowforge, with that same cutting, you already understand how the lines work. And so it really was a matter of translating, okay, what materials are safe, and then figuring out completely new cut settings. So it was just really adding on to knowledge that someone may already have.
Nice. So you can point us in the right direction if we want to Glowforge. Then
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely awesome. Good. All right.
What
Sorry,
Aaron
Terry.
really, what Aaron really wants to ask is, since you work in government there, he has a couple parking tickets from 3 years ago. Could you help him out in any way with those?
Well, if you want to know about social media and government, I'm your girl. Parking
Yeah.
tickets, someone else.
Well,
Go
give
ahead,
us an idea about your process in helping people. How does somebody go about engaging in your educational content?
So I have a couple different branches of content that I like to put out, or ways to be educated. So YouTube is my main format. That's where I do a lot of my breakdowns that will have my longest tutorials.
Okay.
I also put a lot of informational stuff on my Instagram, and I'm trying to do TikTok, but who has time for all of these channels?
Yeah.
So a lot of my Instagram, I kind of address common questions, common grievances that we have, and very quick tutorials. As you know, I will travel to conferences. I saw Aaron at Everything Embroidery Market early this year. I'll be there in September and Start Here Academy. And then I also offer on my website, lisapottsdesigns.com, I also offer one-on-one training sessions. So I do those pretty often as well. Someone will just come and say, hey, I need help with such and such. We sit down on a recorded Zoom call, and they can reference it back as many times as they want. And it's been really beneficial to kind of sit down with people on a regular basis and see their growth as well, and to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with them. So lots of different areas, something for everyone. And I really enjoy putting out all of that content everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, who has time for all of it? Sounds like you do, because you're everywhere. and multiple venues. So, okay. So you mentioned, the kind of the basics and stuff like that. But when you're the content that you're putting out there, right? Where do you kind of get the ideas from, I guess, is where I'm kind of heading with this. But like, what are those challenges? You mentioned kind of getting into the basics. I mean, you talked about vectors. What are some of the big challenges people that are consuming your content and wanting to have those one-on-one consults with you? What are you helping them with?
I think for the vast majority of people, software is always the biggest challenge. When it comes to the production or cutting, once you figure out, okay, how do I balance my speed and my force and anything that we do with vinyl or heat pressing, once you get into a rhythm, you can kind of almost go on autopilot. Whenever you design in your software, there's a lot that you have to remember. And a lot of times these are people that are still somewhat new. So understanding the layering of how your file goes in, how do I manipulate my file to look like this? I mean, it seems like very basic to those of us who have been in the industry a long time, but we get a lot of like, what are these weird gaps between my letters on script fonts, And so sometimes just teaching someone how to weld or understand how those lines work have been the biggest thing. So when I go through my comments, I go through my messages, a lot of times it's how do I get this engraved to be deeper? How do I set up my file to cut and engrave? How do I trace this item? So it's those things that for those of us who've been a while are like secondhand. But again, it's just basics. It's just, this is why it's like this, and this is how you can fix it. And by the way, we can apply this in this many other contexts as well.
Okay. So when you talk about the the different stuff that you're doing with the cut lines and stuff like that, do you have a software that you're normally working in or that you recommend?
So I have not left the crafting world very far. I do everything in Silhouette Studio still.
Nice.
So I have the business edition upgrade.
Okay.
It can export as an SVG, and since I'm so familiar with it, I can be really quick. I do offer Coreldraw as well, but I've noticed that my audience, for the most part, is coming from the craft world, so they're already working in that software. So it gives them a little bit of like a safety blanket or a tether, so that they're not completely jumping into something totally new. They have something familiar to hold on to.
Yeah. So, what is that kind of transition to Coreldraw? Is it that big of a jump, or is it just like you said, the familiarity of it?
It's familiarity and a little bit of intimidation. So I have put out before content kind of saying like a translation guide on how to do either one. Sometimes you'll also get users who have, started off with, a $260 machine, the basics, and then they're moving to a larger investment of their Glowforge, which can range anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000, $7,000. And so for some reason, sometimes software can be the item that we feel like we shouldn't pay as much on. Like we have our equipment, the software we shouldn't. So sometimes the jumping up to a bigger software like Coreldraw there's a little bit of a disconnect there. So I kind of help bridge towards it, and I encourage them, hey, if you want this bigger software, there are great options, but you can still do everything in this software if you'd like as well.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying all that. All right. So before you ask your next question, Terry, sorry, I'm going to just want to throw out to the regulators. You guys make sure that, we've got Lisa here. This is an awesome opportunity. So if you have questions for Lisa, go ahead and throw them in the comments. And we've obviously got more to talk to Lisa about, but we want to make sure that we get everything covered here too. So Terry, go ahead.
Well, I was just also going to say that, in my classes too, I tell people, listen, if you're already working in Corel, don't try to learn Photoshop while you're also trying to learn this new machine. And so let's keep it simple. So we're on the same page when it comes to all this.
We're already adding enough stuff. We don't need to add another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like those people that come up to you and say, so here at the show, I bought screen printing equipment. I bought a direct to garment printer. I bought a sublimation printer. I'm looking at maybe getting embroidery too. And like all at one time, are you really going to try to do this? So let's keep it simple. But so Lisa, here on Two Regular Guys, we talk a lot about information on the internet. There's lots of stuff out there on YouTube, not all of it good. And the problem being, if you don't know the difference, you don't know if you're getting good information or not. But so what are you finding your followers are asking about most? What do they need from you to be successful?
The biggest thing that I get asked are the types of material that you can cut and engrave on a Glowforge. CO2 lasers can't just go through anything. So in my vinyl cutting days, I'll try anything. I'll try to heat press anything, because the worst that'll happen is something will melt. The worst that will happen with a Glowforge is it'll ruin your laser, put out toxic fumes. It's not a good time. So I get a lot of, is this material safe? Is that material safe? So a lot of times I still reference back to Glowforge, like their community forum, the information they put out. I get a lot of types of artificial leathers that you can do. There are some types of artificial leathers that are polyurethane, which are safe, but there are other ones that are PVC, which will, I don't know if it'll kill you, but it won't be good. So sometimes you have to kind of balance it out. So, what I always recommend to people is we want to be as safe as possible. There are plenty of wholesalers that sell leatherette, which is made for the laser, or you can do some research on PU leather. But for the most part, that's what I get. Can I do this? Can I do that? People will pull just a plastic piece from the cheapest store they can find and ask if they can cut it. And I'm like,
can you? Yes. Should you? Not so much.
Probably not a good idea. So it's a lot of safety questions that I get. And you do have a lot of people putting out information that is not great. I don't know how often this happens or if they figured out their lesson, but there was someone I saw literally cutting vinyl records on their Glowforge, which is like a big no-no. That's not polyurethane. And so I remember having to message some people, be like, don't do that. Don't follow that tutorial. don't do it. So yeah, a lot of safety questions that I get.
Oof. Interesting.
Yeah,
What doesn't kill me makes me stronger does not apply in this situation, right?
No, I mean, it depends on how you define stronger, but I would say no.
I live to tell about it.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you for taking care of people and giving them the right information. That's fantastic. Christian Snyder here says, I already use Silhouette and Coreldraw. What is the learning curve for Glowforge?
Very, very minimal. So Glowforge does have a premium version of its software that has somewhat basic tools in it. You can invert things, create offsets, that sort of thing. Glowforge, for the most part, is really just treated as like a cutting software. So you would design everything the way you're used to in Silhouette or Coreldraw, set up your cut lines, and then once it comes into Glowforge, you'll do things like set up your cut settings, and then you can also set up the order that things go through. So if you're familiar with the Cricut cutting software, you'll notice on the left side there's little boxes for the jobs. It's a similar thing in Glowforge, and you just rearrange your item by what order you want it to go. So if you want something to score and then you want it to engrave and then cut it out at the end, you just stack them in your Glowforge software to go in that order.
That's pretty cool. Wow. I didn't even think about that kind of depth of what you're doing, compared to just like cutting some vinyl, which is pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing something that has multiple functions in it. So it doesn't make a huge difference, but I always prefer to cut last, because if you get a nice clean cut, sometimes your cut material will drop just ever so slightly in your board. So I want to make sure that I have my best score and engrave settings before my material drops.
Oh, there's another golden nugget tip.
We're scribbling down notes as we speak here.
You need to get a transcript of this. And all right. So Lisa, in fact, Ramona says, talking about how you share the safety and the right things to do. And that's where your reputation for quality content comes from. You care and aren't just putting stuff out there. So I totally agree with that. So Lisa, one other thing about this, when we're talking about laser cutting and the Glowforge and stuff like that, I wanted to know what's been your favorite project that you've made so far. I don't need you to show it to us. Most people listen on the podcast anyway, so just explain it to us real quick.
So it's hard to kind of nail down one item, because there's different aspects of projects that I really enjoy. Something that we're familiar with vinyl cutting are handwriting and recipes. And so I get, especially during Christmas time, I get a lot of handwritten recipes that people are engraving on charcuterie boards, that sort of thing. So I had one a couple years ago where she wanted a phrase that her grandmother said, but she didn't exactly have it in writing. Like, she didn't have that phrase written out. So a customer sent me basically pictures of a couple pages of letters that she had written, or a journal. And I basically broke it apart and put together the words and engraved this board with that phrase on it. So that was really, really special. I think we are kind of used to it with vinyl as well, but it's such a huge honor to be able to preserve those memories and kind of carry on someone's legacy. So I think as far as being meaningful, that was my favorite. And then I did like this huge 2-foot by 4-foot sign for a nursery, I think last year. And it had like these beautiful tropical leaves on it and a name. And, I even had my husband, Nick, pose with it, as an Instagram influencer. And so I really, really enjoyed that project too. So it's kind of like a toss up between those two.
Yeah.
So you could, in fact, do "You Kids Get Off My Lawn" for me. Is that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Send it over.
In your my grandmother. In your handwriting.
All right. Well, hey, Aaron's going to talk about Start Here Academy here in a second, but you're out there, you're teaching, you're doing live events. What's the number one question you get when you're standing up there in front of an audience doing a presentation?
I get a lot of what software should I use question.
Okay.
And I get a lot of, is Glowforge really worth it questions.
Yeah.
And so that's always difficult, because we all come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Since I come from the Silhouette world and the crafting world, there's those of you like Todd, who has his huge vinyl cutters and his direct to all the printers.
Yeah.
I blanked on all of them. And so someone like that may think that the silhouette is not worth it. But there are so many people who have started their business on this 12-inch cutter and have been able to make a profit and then upgrade to larger machines. So a lot of times I would say Glowforge is the same thing. Like, a big laser is not a cheap investment, and you have to make space for it, make sure your electrical set up. But this is something that can easily be right behind me. I work in a 9x10 office. It's not big. So I get a lot of those questions like, is it worth it? And so it's hard to answer because everyone's journey is different and everyone's needs are different, but it's a lot of just unsure questions, like kind of reassurance that I get.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And
does is it worth it translate to, can I make money with this? Is that
yes. That is the underlying thing with the question. But I think we know here that everyone's potential is different based off of your market and how you present your product as well.
Absolutely. Well, at Everything Embroidery Market, you were wheeling around a Glowforge, pretty much carrying it with you like it was a puppy dog. So that was kind of cool.
I had to protect it.
That's right. And then Eric says, because earlier Ramona had mentioned handwriting is very popular with embroidery too. And then Eric followed that up with embroiderers are buzzing. Now we can apply our knowledge of sequencing and handwriting somewhere else into the laser world. So Melanie's got a question here, and I may ask Melanie to clarify a little bit further, unless you can help translate this for me, Lisa. But she says, what about hiring laser makers? Where is a good place to look? Does that make some sense to you? I'm trying to figure out what a laser maker might be.
Right. I think it's, I would guess, outsourcing.
Outsourcing. That's kind of where I was heading to, but
that's what I think too.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different places you can look. I am a big fan of Facebook groups. So you can start with a trusted Facebook group you're already in. Like, as you can see, there's a lot of cross-pollination between embroiderers, vinyl cutters, laser engravers. So I would check there first. And then there are plenty of laser Facebook groups that you can join. Some of them are I think there are even ones that are made specifically to outsource. So there's lots of places. I'm a big fan of Facebook groups, to be honest.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Melanie says, I know a local person who runs a laser, but I think she does signs mostly. And then she mentioned Renee Townsend does leatherettes. So, outsourcing. Perfect. So there you go. Facebook groups. That's a great idea. And, all that cross-pollination like you talked about. And then Todd mentioned that his Cameo is still on the shelf behind him. So
can't forget where you started.
That's right.
That's right. You have to know your roots.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, we appreciate you coming in. I know we're still a little ways out here from the Start Here Academy. And I've been lucky enough to be connected with you for a while, since you were a Reggie Award winner, actually. And, but
I can't help but notice I don't see it in the background there. But
they're right over here, actually. They're in my line of sight.
All right, good. I like that. Thank you, Lisa. So let's just real quick talk about Start Here Academy. It's in Charlotte, September 15th. But talk to us about maybe I don't know. A couple things that come to my mind are like, what do you think it's going to be, and then what are you excited about? Can people expect from you?
So I'm excited for Start Here Academy because coming into that crowd, it really marks the beginning of a new exciting chapter for so many people. Like they're here to start here. So I'm excited to kind of meet with everyone and see like, where are they coming from? Where do they want to go? What are their, not to sound cheesy, their dreams, their challenges. And so I personally think that I've been able to come very far. I've been able to work at my business while, having a full-time job, having, a different type of security, and a little bit more of a social life as well. So I'm excited to kind of share how I balance it. How do I prioritize things and how I make plans for the future. I'm just really excited about it. I love that crowd. I love the dreaming, the ambition. So I'm excited to kind of share where I came from and where I want to go.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, as the MC, I'll make sure I take care of getting everybody into that dreamy and cheesy place. Yeah, you can lean on me to be cheesy. So awesome. So, regulators, what other questions do you guys have for Lisa? We still got a little bit of time left here, but I guess the other thing that I'd like to just start kind of sharing with folks here is, how can our listeners connect with you? Obviously, YouTube's a big starting point, but are there other places, websites, stuff like that would be good for people to check out?
Sure. I try to make it very easy for everyone. Everything is Lisa Potts Designs. So we have lisapottsdesigns.com. Instagram is Lisa Potts Designs. YouTube is Lisa Potts Designs. And I'm trying to keep up with TikTok. There's always something that gets neglected. TikTok is mine. I'm very active on my Instagram. So if you like to see my behind the scenes, if you
That's
just
awesome.
like to see my dog staring at me when I'm eating, I have a whole series on that.
Awesome.
And I share a lot of little videos on my Instagram as well.
Awesome. Cool. All right, Lisa, quick question for you from producer Eric here. He says lots of people recommend low price commodity lasers instead of Glowforge. Why do you recommend the Glowforge over the inputs?
So it kind of depends on your comfort level. So the low price commodity lasers can get the job done, but I have been told that you have to run ice water through it. There aren't a whole lot of safety features put in. It's kind of like you take it and you go. Glowforge I enjoy because they have a really, in my opinion, a good support system. There's a large community based around it. Excuse me. And they've made it very easy to translate from the craft cutters into this laser. I mean, not important. They look pretty, but they have a lot of safety features built in. They have cooling systems, and there's a lot of resources. So if you get a commodity laser, it's very possible the instructions aren't in English. There's a lot of different ones, so it's hard to find someone to help you troubleshoot it. But Glowforge has a ton of information on it, and there's a ton of people like me who enjoy teaching it and who want to help you get started. So I think it's more of a safety and an ease of use thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. I like having all my fingers and body parts, so I think we'll stick with the Glowforge, I love it. So great. Lisa, one last quick question before we let you go. Just anything new and good happening for you that you want to share before we let you get out of here?
I have a couple courses that I'm working on. I don't have a timeline on it yet, so I enjoy teaching and I enjoy breaking things down. But I have a couple courses going on that, and I'm still trying to truck along with these basic projects to get everyone comfortable and ready. So keep an eye out for them. Don't have a timeline yet, but they are coming.
Awesome.
All right. By the way, you can't say to Aaron, I don't have a timeline for this, because after the show, he will be asking you to put that in.
I need the accountability.
That's right. Kind of my job. I'm the accountability guy. So no, we'll get to see you out in Charlotte, and then, well, actually, probably let's see, is Charlotte? I can't remember which one, Charlotte or Myrtle Beach. One of the two is where I'll see you first, but I'll see you both. So
they're back-to-back weekends, so I'll see you then.
That's right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you out there. Lisa, thank you so much. Everybody go over to Lisa Potts Designs and check that out. Become a subscriber on her YouTube channel. She'll be at 30, 40,000 by the time we're done here, I'm hoping. And awesome. Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you all later.
All right. Super.
Terry, that was pretty incredible.
With pro tips.
Yeah.
I love the pro tips.
Yeah. And I think that's why people are attracted to Lisa's education, right? Is that she's, breaks it down from the basics, but you could tell without any, I mean, she wasn't even digging for it, and just like, oh, this is how you do this amazing thing. And here's why you would layer this like that. And like, whoa, okay. Everybody write that down. Right. So,
well, and that comes from having a depth of knowledge, there's those kind of tips just flow. So
yeah, I agree. All right, well, Terry, great having Lisa on again. Check out Lisa Potts Design. We are without a 5 things this week, folks, so we need you guys to step up here. Regulators, it's your time to shine. You want to be part of the program here, so head over to 2regularguys.com. 5 things /5 things. It's the number 5 things, and you can lots of different options there. Tells you all about them, but you can type them in and we'll share it. You can record your voice right there on that screen, and it'll share with us, and then we can pop it up when it's time to hit the 5 things on the next show. You can email us over a video recording of you doing it. You can email us just what your 5 things are. Terry, the 5 things is kind of a concept. Can you share with folks what that really is, so people know, give them some ideas even?
Yeah. I mean, 5 things is just 5 concepts, 5 ideas. Maybe it's 5 pro tips on laser engraving, just the way Lisa just shared them. Maybe it's 5 things that are best to reheat in your conveyor dryer at 3 a.m. It can be anything. We had one recently. We had one recently about it's pizzas, number 1, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And
what's that
hilarious.
show where like the top answer is like Family Feud, right? Family Feud.
Right. Survey says pizza.
Yeah. All right. I got you off track. Keep going, Terry. I'm sorry.
No, but just let's see. An example that Eric just put up here: 5 things to remember when teaching new decorators.
Let's do this, Terry. Actually, if I can interrupt you one more time, as usual. Eric is going to show you what this looks like. Eric, are you okay with that? He's fine with that.
Do you have your show hat on, or do you have your producer hat on?
Yeah, just switch the hat around, Eric.
It's always the producer hat, no matter what. It's the Eric Campbell hat, which unfortunately, by the way, is now discontinued.
Oh, it is officially now?
Sandmar, come on, man. You can't just.
Do we need to go buy up the rest of stock?
Yeah, you need cases of them, man. How many do you have left? I'll take them all.
I've had so many people offer me to produce something for me overseas that maybe I'll just have to start actually producing the Eric Campbell hat for myself now. We'll have to see. We'll have to come up with a new color scheme. Okay, so I did not get to put these in banners or anything fancy like we usually do, so I will just do this without banners.
Can I hit some buttons for you?
Yeah, you can if you want to. Go ahead and hit buttons for it if you want to.
Let's introduce you in here.
Let's try this out.
5 things.
All right. So this is 5 things to remember when teaching new decorators. So anytime we are out there teaching new decorators, there's some things we should probably keep in mind. And Lisa gave us some great ideas about this while she was talking today. Number 1, everyone comes with a different body of experience. You never know where they are coming from or what they know. Things that they may know might apply or might not, or might hold them back, but you should understand a little bit where they're coming from before you kind of direct them. Number 2, foundational knowledge matters to growth. And knowing the basics, knowing those foundations, the elemental ways in which things operate in the industry or in the decoration method that we're trying to teach are very important to their further growth or to building up to larger projects. So get that foundational knowledge in. Teach the basics. 3rd, we all started from 0 at some point. As Lisa said, some of the stuff seems like it's really easy to us, but truthfully, if we've been in the business for a while, we already know this stuff. It is kind of baked into all of our conversations. We might not understand at first when we're talking to a beginner that some of the stuff that's basic to us might not be common knowledge. Number 4, the introduction you give can color someone's feelings about the industry. Now, this is a personal one for me. I've seen some people jump in when you're talking about going on Facebook groups or going online, and someone will jump in and say, from kind of a bad position that they may have gotten themselves into, you can't make money in this industry. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't have this kind of product. You can't whatever. And some of that kind of feelings, and Aaron might say a limiting belief, can keep people from actually getting things done or color their entire feeling about how they're going forward in the industry, maybe even turn them off. So think about what you say when you talk about maybe your hardest day in the industry with someone who's a brand new raw beginner. And number 5, for you, benefit from the beginner mindset. That beginner mindset, that ability and willingness to try anything to learn is something we can all benefit from, whether you're 1 year, 5 year, 15 years, 20 years, or more in the industry. So benefit from that beginner mindset and learn while you teach.
There we go. See how easy that was, everybody? So regulators, it's on you guys. Step up just like Eric did.
As if I didn't type it 5 seconds ago.
I saw it get pasted into the outline. So that's all you guys got to do. Anything like Terry was talking about, it can be It doesn't have to be decorating related. It can be, you know, I love your idea of the top 5 things to run through your conveyor dryer at 3 a.m. Pizza being the survey answer there.
Best way to reheat coffee while in the shop. That's
yeah.
that's always useful.
Biggest gaffes I remember Terry and Eric and Aaron making on 2 regular guys.
No.
But only 5. But only 5.
No. We don't have time for that many.
Only 5. Only 5. All right.
5
Eric, thank you so much, sir. Right. Much appreciate you jumping in and doing that on the spot. So thanks.
Thanks.
You know, and Lisa kind of hit on this too, and Eric really hit it on the head with talking about, you know, people starting into the business. I think for me, it's that excitement when they print their first shirt, or, you know, or like for me teaching screen printing classes, you know, when they wash out that screen and it works, you know, because they were trying it at home and they just couldn't make it work, and just that raw excitement about, oh man, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. You know, you just it kind of rejuvenates your own feelings about the industry as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so 5 things. 2regularguys.com/5 things. Head over there and get that done. Promise I'm done touching buttons now, Eric. Okay. Awesome. All right, Terry. Well, what's coming up for you here, sir?
All right. Well, I have a complete screen printing business class, speaking of, at Workhorse Products tomorrow and Sunday here in Phoenix. I think there's a couple of spots still open. If anybody would like to come, it's going to be a beautiful 115 degrees here tomorrow. So come on down to Phoenix or up to Phoenix or over to Phoenix. And it's all inside and we're air conditioned. Yeah, it's dry heat. My next class in Chicago at Atlas Screen Supply will be August 27th and 28th, and tentative dates of July 30th and 31st for my class in the New Jersey, New York City area. That's just getting put together right now, and all my upcoming 2022 class dates are on my website. Go to terrycombs.com for all of my upcoming events. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to share what Eric's got coming up here real quick, and then we'll jump to mine. And you're 115, Terry. Like I said, it's a dry heat because it's supposed to be about 100 with like 100% humidity here in the next couple of days. So
yes.
I'm sweating already thinking about it, but that's okay. We had the winter. Now it's time to enjoy some heat, so we're all good. All right. So Eric coming up here. Let's see here. This week on the Take Up, episode 115, Machine Embroidery Supply and Setup Showdown. Cool. I'll check that out.
Wow.
Always love a good showdown.
This embroidery shop ain't big enough for the both of us.
You sounded like Matt Roan right there with your embroidery.
Embroidery.
All right. So anyhow, Machine Embroidery Supply and Setup Showdown. We've all seen the embroidery discussions that devolve into debates over techniques, treatments, and supplies. In this episode, we'll be discussing some of the most frequently seen debates. If you'll head over to ericcampbell.com and click on the Take Up tab at the top menu there for the full playlist, that'll get you access to all 150 of those amazing. I mean, basically every week, Eric puts an hour plus together of training that you get to go check out for free. So make sure that you're following him on YouTube and Facebook and liking and smashing and doing all those great things that you need to do to tell Eric that you love and appreciate all the stuff he's sharing. He will also be having an extended session that you need to look out for called Making Small Run Patches, and that's coming up at the Impressions Expo Fort Worth. So if you'll head over to impressionsexpo.com, you can get more details about that. So that's what Eric's got in the works, Terry. For me, I talked about Skills USA at the top of the show there about thanking all of our supporters, and really appreciate all that. That's happening June 22nd and 23rd at the Georgia World Congress Center. So if you happen to be in the area, it's not what you'd consider a typical trade show, but boy, it's really cool to see just the breadth of it. We're one of like 134 different contests that happen. So they'll be taking up 3 full halls at the Georgia World Congress Center, which is a massive convention center. So looking forward to that. I shared that great prize list. There are still a few support items that we could use some help with. We've got some ancillary needs. Easy for me to say there, but any financial donations that anybody would like to make to help cover some of the expenses, like the printing and the binding of the testing plans and the stuff that you need to run a competition, clipboards, timers, stuff like that, just reach out to me. Aaron at tworegularguys.com is a great place to catch me at. And then let's see here, September 15th, we were just talking about the Start Here Academy with Lisa, and that's happening in Charlotte in conjunction with the Graphics Pro Expo, which is happening the next 2 days there in Charlotte. So you want to be at the whole thing, the whole enchilada. Come to the Start Here Academy to check it all out, get you started, start here, right? And then that evening and then the next day be at the show floor. And I get to highlight the amazing speakers. In fact, you guys met Stan already. There's Lisa. Eve tried to be on, and we believe will be on next week. So I think she's got everything squared away. So we should have Eve on next week. So that way we get to talk to all of those amazing influencers. So you can check it out. I just made a short link too. I know Eric will probably have the long link on the screen here, but there it is. osg.link/SHA. Look at that guy. He's actually so good at this that he's thinking before I say. This is incredible. That's a little scary too, but anyhow. All right. Well, Terry, I think we've covered anything that we missed.
I think we have done it all and on time. Look at us.
Yeah.
Everybody out there who has to say, I think they're almost done.
All right. Well, Terry,
and Eric can knows what I'm going to say too, because he starts shaking his head before I start talking. So
he's still shaking his head. It's weird. All right, you guys. Well, we have come to the close of another show. We want to really thank Lisa for her time. Check her out at lisapottsdesigns.com and make sure that you subscribe to her YouTube channel. And we really appreciate her time, and I can't wait to see her out there at Myrtle Beach for Everything Embroidery Market and also at the Start Here Academy. So looking forward to that.
All right. And thanks, as always, to our show producer, Eric Campbell, for turning on the lights, whipping out of 5 things, and making everything happen in the background. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, he and then carrying me last week. I mean, this guy is doing the yeoman's work. We're gonna have to change this to Eric Campbell's 2 regular guys. We'll just kind of work for him. Thanks, Eric. We really appreciate it, man. So next week we're excited to hopefully connect with Eve Lowry. She worked really hard. She was messaging me the whole time, like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm trying. I've tried all these different things." So
she would pop on and up.
Poor thing. She was crushed to not be able to join us, but she rescheduled for the 17th here, which is next week. So we can't wait to talk to her next week, Terry.
All right. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
We are the 2 regular guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to 2 Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/2regularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/2regularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.